What I'd like to visit with you about today is the importance of building bridges, not walls. Nothing particularly new about the statement, but what a perfect time to revisit this theme with all that's going on right now. The Great Wall is a super tourist site. If you haven't seen it, hope that you'll visit. I have many times. It would be highly ineffectual for any military purposes in China. It's a relic of a time in the past. But the walls being erected in China, or I think more accurately, the walls between us and the Western culture and China, are numerous and formidable. I think in terms of ideology, we are in an intense discussion as to what is the superior form of governance today. Is it the old Western capitalistic system? Or is it, for example, socialism with Chinese characteristics, or Marxism in general? This is being debated not just in the East, but also in academia here in the West. So we have an illogical wall that can come and divide us. We have a financial wall, import-export. What currency will dominate in the next 20, 30, 40 years? What digital currency will begin to take preeminence? And we can divide over this discussion. We have the wall of language. China is unified with one script, thanks to the mandate of Mao Zedong. And it does unify the people. It's an exclusive factor. If you can't read the script, you're an outsider. Many of us speak English as our first language. Not all, but many. And language does tend to divide us and set up barriers of true communications. I'm teaching a course right now on cross-cultural communications. And make no mistake about it, embedded in language is culture. How do we use humor? And so many other ways. So walls are being erected. And in recent days, there's been a heavy emphasis in the PRC on Sinocization or sinification. This is not a minor factor. If you're not familiar with the term, you need to become familiar with it. It's being pushed top down. Its emphasis is being found in the nonprofit world, in the religious world, and the systems. President Xi and the party wants China to have to celebrate its Chinesiness and not just take and put a Western hat on the country of China. This could, though I wouldn't be adamant, be behind by the shutdown of after-school learning programs, for-profit learning programs, as President Xi wishes to get a firmer grip on how young people are being educated. And you'll see it in many celebrations which are taking place now, where the host will wear traditional Chinese garb, songs that are sung. The movies are closely monitored. So if you watch a movie in China, it will be favorable towards China. And that's just the way it is. So what I'd like to discuss is not just the problem. Finding the problems is relatively simple. But I thought it might be helpful to just dive in, albeit briefly, into what are some of the things we can do to overcome these walls. And I would suggest 3 or 4 in our time together right now. Number one, of course, is patience. None of us, no one I know, predicted that there would be a U-turn regarding governance in China that we've seen. And it's easy to throw our hands up. And if we haven't already been asked to leave the country of China and stop working there, simply say, I'm looking for riper fields. Let's move to Thailand, let's move to Vietnam, let's go to Singapore, or many other options, some in Africa, South America. But I'd encourage you, don't give up on your relationships in China. If this is what you work towards, I suggest it's a little too soon to quit. One great football coach says it's always too soon to quit. Now, I don't believe that. When the horse is dead, dismount. But there may be a time, but I don't think that time is now, especially as we anticipate the Great Reset when China opens up again. We've also experienced the wall of inability to travel. How can you show your good faith and your friendship in China if you can't even go in without a 14 to 21 day quarantine with a $22,000 price tag? Most of us have simply stayed away until things change. And that's another wall we need to overcome, but be patient. People ask me, Gene, when are you going back to China? My answer has been the same for years now. The first time I can go in without a requisite 14-day quarantine, I'll be on the plane. No matter what the price. That's how important it is for us to have a relationship, and the type that can only be formed in face-to-face interaction to show our spirit as well as our words. I would encourage you to think of building your bridge with the right person, not the right place. Even though China has many laws, you mentioned the topic, they'll have pages of laws and regulations. So in that sense, it is a country of law. But it's also, based upon 5,000 years of history, still going to be a country of relationships. So when you think of your bridge, think of the person. Who do you want your bridge to go to? And who will you receive? And instead of thinking about 1.3 billion people, think about one person. And that relationship, that bridge building can be happening even during this time when we can't travel. It's New Year's right now as I speak. Have you written to that person to say Happy New Year? Whether in Cantonese, Mandarin, Feng Tang, Fat Choi, whatever you're going to say, I mean, find some way to translate it for you. But send pictures, ask how they're doing. Show personal interest, genuine personal interest in them. People are the end of the bridge, not a country. Secondly, I would remind you that true bridge building means you meet in the middle. And to have a winning, successful bridge, we need to remind our friends in China of that. Perhaps I'm overstating a little bit here, but there's a phrase that Chinese have used in the last several decades called win-win. Now, when we think about win-win, and we have business books on the topic, we think both of us win, but Chinese don't necessarily mean that. And if you can get some to be honest with you, they'll admit that they've been laughing about this phrase for some time. What they sometimes mean is First of all, they're going to play the card of the poor Chinese, falling back upon what they refer to as their century of humiliation. And I'm not here to debate whether there's veracity in that. That's not my point. But they'll allude to that. Our economy is not yet per capita near what America's is. Look at my house. It doesn't compare with your house. And I don't live the lifestyle that you in America do. Well, they forget to tell you that the average Chinese is saving 50% of their money. What you might ask to do is look at their bank account, which they will not show you. But they'll say, poor me, rich you. So you need to give me special considerations in our contract and agreement because of that. Then that's the first win for them. The second win is not only do they get a favorable contract with you, but they may be a little shaky on following through. And you notice when there's a lack of misunderstanding in a contract, it's usually in their favor. And if you're a wise China consultant, you'll be prepared for that. So their win-win is they win twice. A little different interpretation. So when I'm building a bridge, I need to be aware of this. And I need to make sure that we meet on that bridge halfway. That's true partnership. That attitude eschews the old colonialism and patronage. I come to my Chinese friends as an equal, a true equal. I may have some things you don't, but you have some things I don't. I may know some things you don't, but you know some things I do not know. So we're going to meet in the middle. And I think when we do that, we'll establish respect that's truly reciprocal and mutual and healthy. So I would keep these things in mind. The bridge is with a person. It needs to be equal. It needs to be fair. We need to meet in the middle. And finally, that bridge needs to be genuine. And that takes so much time to prove. We can say that our heart's good, but we need to prove it. And maybe in a short time, we'll get together again and we'll chat about what it's going to look like when we go back to China. Until then, I wish you well, stay healthy, and we'll talk soon.